We're live from New Delhi, watching DD India News, India's voice to the world. I'm Lipakshi Khurana, coming up in the next hour. Prime Minister Narendra Modi departs on a five-nation visit of the global south on Wednesday, the longest foreign visit by Prime Minister Modi in over a decade. Quad leaders condemn Pahalgam terror attack, calls for perpetrators, organizers and financiers to be brought to justice, launch Quad Critical Minerals Initiative. Key initiatives announced to strengthen maritime and transnational security across the Indo-Pacific. India's External Affairs Minister holds bilateral meetings with US and Australian counterparts on the sidelines of Quad Foreign Ministers meet. Also holds productive conversation on advancing India-US defense partnership with US Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth. US Senate narrowly passes Trump's ambitious One Big Beautiful Bill Act after J.D. Vance's tie-breaking vote. Trump praises it as transformative win. Republicans remain divided on key provisions. US President Trump announces Israel agrees on terms for a 60-day ceasefire deal in Gaza, warns Hamas to accept before condition worsens. Russian President Putin holds telephonic conversation with French counterpart in first talks since 2022. Talks focus on Iran and Ukraine conflict. Macron agrees to talk with Putin again in near future. And on to the details now. Prime Minister Narendra Modi embarked on a crucial 8-day, five-nation visit from today, which is the longest foreign visit by him in over a decade. The extensive diplomatic outreach will see him travel to Ghana, Trinidad and Tobago, Argentina, Brazil and Namibia from 2nd to 9th of July 2025, all members of the Global South. In his departure statement, Prime Minister Modi said he is visiting Ghana at the invitation of President John Dramani Mahama. PM Modi said Ghana is a valued partner in the Global South and plays an important role in the African Union and the economic community of West African states. Prime Minister Modi said he looks forward to the exchanges aimed at further deepening historical ties and opening up new windows of cooperation, including in the areas of investment, energy, health, security, capacity building and development partnership. He further added, as fellow democracies, it will be an honor to speak at the Parliament of Ghana. Prime Minister Modi said he will be in the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago on July 3rd and 4th. He said India shares a deep-rooted historical, cultural and people-to-people connect. I will meet President His Excellencies Mrs. Christine Carla Kangaloo, who was the chief guest at this year's Prasar Bharati Divas, and Prime Minister His Excellency Mrs. Kamala Prasad, who has recently assumed office for the second term. Indians first arrived in Trinidad and Tobago 180 years ago. This visit will provide an opportunity to rejuvenate the special bonds of ancestry and kinship that unite us, unquote. From Port of Spain, Prime Minister Modi will travel to Buenos Aires. This will be the first bilateral visit by an Indian Prime Minister to Argentina in 57 years. Argentina is a key economic partner in Latin America and a close collaborator in the G20. He said, I look forward to my discussions with President His Excellency Javier Milei, whom I also had the pleasure of meeting last year. We will focus on advancing our mutually beneficial cooperation, including in the areas of agriculture, critical minerals, energy, trade, tourism, technology and investment. I'll attend the BRICS summit in Rio de Janeiro on 6th and 7th of July. As a founding member, India is committed to BRICS as a vital platform for cooperation among emerging economies. Together, we strive for a more peaceful, equitable, just, democratic and balanced multipolar world order. On the sidelines of the summit, I will also meet several world leaders. I'll travel to Brasilia for a bilateral state visit, the first by an Indian Prime Minister in nearly 6 decades. This visit will provide an opportunity to strengthen our close partnership with Brazil and work with my friend, President His Excellency Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva, on advancing the priorities of the Global South. Prime Minister Modi will be in Namibia in the last leg of his 5-nation visit. Prime Minister Modi termed Namibia a trusted partner with whom India shares a common history of struggle against colonialism. Prime Minister Modi said he looks forward to meeting President Dr. Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah and chart a new roadmap for cooperation for the benefit of our people, our region and the wider Global South. Prime Minister Modi will also address the joint session of Namibian Parliament as the two nations celebrate the enduring solidarity and shared commitment for freedom and development. Also, Prime Minister said he is confident that visits to the 5 countries will reinforce our bond friendship across the Global South, strengthen our partnerships on both sides of the Atlantic and deepen engagements in the multilateral platforms such as BRICS, the African Union, ECOWAS and the CARICOM. Well, Prime Minister Narendra Modi's first stop would be Ghana, which will be the first such visit by an Indian Prime Minister to the West African country in 3 decades. DD India correspondent Tapas Bhattacharya gives us details from Accra.
India and Ghana share warm, time-tested ties built on common democratic values and a shared vision for development. Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to Ghana from July 2nd to 3rd is not just symbolic, it's a strategic move to reinforce South-South cooperation. This is the first high-level visit by an Indian Prime Minister in 30 years, signaling a renewed focus on Africa.
There will be delegation-level talks, during which the bilateral relations will be reviewed and also discuss various ways to strengthen and deepen bilateral relations. Honorable Prime Minister will have a one-on-one meeting with his counterpart. Then there will be a banquet dinner in honor of Honorable Prime Minister. The next day, Prime Minister will be addressing the Parliament, and he also will be interacting with the Indian community there, which is about 15,000 in number.
Trade and investment and development cooperation are the key pillars of India-Ghana relations. Leaders from both nations are expected to explore new areas for collaboration with a strong focus on economic growth and inclusive partnership. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will also address Ghana's parliament in this trip.
During the visit, there will be few focus items. Will be agriculture, where the Ghanaian leader, the president, is keen to engage with India. He is also keen on the vaccine development, creating a vaccine hub in Ghana, for not just Ghana, but also the West Africa context. Defense cooperation will become an important item on the agenda, and the critical minerals and the digital public infrastructure.
Prime Minister Modi's visit aims to elevate bilateral cooperation across strategic sectors and reaffirm India's commitment to the Global South. The visit of Prime Minister Narendra Modi aims to deepen ties across key sectors including economy, energy, defense and development cooperation, marking a significant diplomatic push in Ghana and a common vision for both India and Ghana for the Global South. With camera person Rakesh, this is Tapas Bhattacharya for DD India, From Accra, Ghana.
Well, in the run-up to the visit, India's High Commissioner to Ghana, Manish Gupta, highlighted the growing strength of India-Ghana relations. He noted that Ghana remains a top destination for Indian investors, with nearly 900 projects set up over the last 2 decades. DD India's Tapas Bhattacharya reports for more.
Joining me is India's High Commission to Ghana, Manish Gupta, to talk about Prime Minister Narendra Modi's 5-nation tour, and the first stop is in Ghana. Sir, how do you see Prime Minister's visit, and how that is expected to be a game changer for both countries?
It's a great privilege that Honorable Prime Minister is going to visit Ghana for the first time. This is the first time in last 3 decades that we are going to have the visit of an Indian Prime Minister. So this is going to be a defining moment for this partnership. And as you know, India-Ghana ties, they're deep-rooted with a very rich historical legacy. And especially in West Africa, Ghana has been a long-standing partner. So it looks from both sides, and you would have observed the energy on the streets here, especially with the Indian community, that everybody is so excited with the visit.
What are the key areas where you believe that both countries can work? Obviously, gold is one of the major point, but we've seen that human resources have, in the last few years, became very important, isn't it?
Between India and Ghana, we have extensive complementarities between our 2 economies. Ghana is quite rich in natural and mining resources. On our part, we bring strong capabilities in the manufacturing, IT, technical service sectors, which this country needs the most. That makes it a very ideal partnership between our 2 countries. And as we move forward in defining this relationship, the quality of human resources will have a big role to play. Because between India and Ghana, one thing you will realize, as countries of the global south, we have young demographics, and secondly, tech is going to play a big role as we shape our economies for the future.
India has been a torch period when it comes to digital and work, and digital India is world famous now. Ghana is looking forward to getting some of that. How do you see the global south, the South-South cooperation benefiting in this way? Because both countries are actually championing the cause of global south.
Yes, Ghana is one of the pivotal countries when it comes to digital innovation and digital infrastructure within sub-Saharan Africa. And here, by all parameters, if you see, Ghana ranks really among the top 5 countries in the continent. They have a decent human capital base, and that's where I think we look forward to the opportunities. We are convinced that Ghana has all the potential to become as a regional hub for the development of the IT sector here in this country, in this region, and also for the wider sub-Saharan Africa.
Oil is also a very crucial, aspect here. People have been talking about, Ghana becoming the next oil exporter. How do you see India can take advantage of that?
Ghana is decent oil and gas resources. In fact, oil commercial production started way back in 2008. So Ghana is already exporting a lot of oil and gas. For us, hydrocarbon sector also provides one of the opportunities. But having said that, they have other mining resources also. Ghana has recently discovered lithium in commercial quantities. So there, I think it offers us an opportunity to go enter into this lithium mining sector, and where we can craft win-win outcomes for both the sides.
Right. Also, just wanted to know, there's a lot of investment from India in Ghana. Could you share some of the details? What is the amount that we have been talking about, and if we can have more such investment?
Over a period of time, Indian companies have become part of the Ghana's developmental journey. And if I can trace back, because in this country, the earliest arrivals of Indians here almost date back to 100 years. We came back as earlier as traders, and now our companies have diversified. They have set up manufacturing capabilities over here. So in a broad perspective, the Indian companies have invested close to $2 billion in this country in over 900 projects, spanning the areas of agriculture, manufacturing, IT, steel, pharmaceutical sector, to name a select few. And these have been very ably complemented by the government-to-government development cooperation framework. The Indian government has invested close to another $1 billion through grants, lines of credit, and buyer's credit program. So in a way, our portfolio here, the developmental footprint here is exceedingly well in this region.
Anything you are looking forward to? The last question I'd like to ask you, if there is any point, anything that you believe that, with Prime Minister Modi's visit will get a massive boost?
With Honorable Prime Minister's visit, I am so confident that is going to open a new chapter into India-Ghana ties. A new government has assumed power under President Mahama in January. So at the very beginning of his term, we are establishing the highest level political contacts. And this
it's expected that he will be also welcoming Prime Minister Modi in the airport.
That seems very, very likely, and we are quite enthused. The Indian community is also quite excited with the overall developments.
Prime Minister Modi's visit in Ghana is expected to be a game changer when it comes to both countries, and expected to be a massive, give a massive boost to the South-South cooperation and for the relationship between India and Ghana. With camera person Rakesh, this is Tapush Bhattacharya for DD India from Accra, Ghana.
Well, in the heart of Accra stands the Kwame Nkrumah Memorial Park. It is a tribute to Ghana's founding father and its first president, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. Clad in Italian marble and crowned with a black star of unity, the monument stands as a powerful symbol of Ghana's journey to freedom and its enduring legacy. DD India's Tapush Bhattacharya reports for more.
I'm in Accra city, the capital of Ghana, and here Prime Minister Narendra Modi will start his 5-nation tour. This is the first stop, Ghana, and here at this Kwame Nkrumah Memorial Park, I am here. It's a place where Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be coming. This is the place dedicated to the first president of Ghana, and I have with me Dr. Collins, the executive director of this particular memorial park. Sir, Prime Minister Modi is coming here. It's an excitement for you also that, the first president, the Memorial Park, and our own Prime Minister from India is coming here. How do you feel?
We feel very great. We feel very great. India and Ghana have shared very rich history together. We have all been partners in the struggle for colonial liberation or liberation from colonial rule. And so it's an amazing time for us to receive the Prime Minister. We are grateful. We are looking forward to seeing him, and we'll be here waiting for him.
Right. Also, sir, this is the place where the first president of Ghana was buried along with his wife, and this particular place looks like an upside, sword. Tell me the exact meaning of this, and how does that signify this current scenario in Ghana?
So this symbol actually shows two things. It depicts two things. One is the sword. Sword turned upside down. Now, sword turned upside down means peace. If the sword is raised up, you are at war. But when it's turned upside down, it is peace. And so he stands for peace. He has always been a peaceful man. And then the second one is a tree, a truncated tree. If you look at it, you see that it kind of looks like a tree. At the bottom looks like, the roots. Right. And then at the top is kind of truncated. It means that Kwame Nkrumah started something really powerful. Along the way, he was cut off just like a tree. And so we use this to remember all the beautiful things that he started, but which were cut off because he couldn't, yeah.
Right. Also, sir, both India and Ghana shared a lot of values, a lot of history. Both were under British colonial rule. Now both want to grow together. How do you see India's role in helping Ghana become a developed country, especially when it comes to the West Africa and the African region?
India has been a very powerful ally to the country for many years. Since independence, it has contributed immensely in terms of technology, in terms of architecture, in terms of a lot of other things. We already, in fact, the very idea that we have our presidency, in other words, the official office of our president, has been designed and built by India. That shows the extent of the connections that we have between the two people. So I think that Would India help us? Absolutely. They've been fantastic so far, and we're just looking forward to having more of India's involvement in our political and economic life.
Appreciate your time. So that was Executive Director of this particular National Memorial Park, stating that India and Ghana shared values and they are looking forward to going ahead in the future together. With Person Rockets, this is Taposh Bhattacharya for DD India.
And still to come in DD India News Hour. India's defense minister speaks to US counterpart. It discusses ways to further augment defense ties. Trump plans to prioritize trade deal with India, cast doubts on trade deal with Japan. And US ambassador to Israel threatens B-2 bomber strikes in Yemen after Houthi missile intercepted by Israel. Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Now. Lipakshi Khurana. And moving on, External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar held a very productive meeting of Quad foreign ministers in Washington, D.C. The leaders discussed how to make Quad more focused and impactful on contemporary opportunities and challenges. Jaishankar said that today's gathering will strengthen strategic stability in the Indo-Pacific and keep it free and open. Also, Quad foreign ministers condemned unequivocally all acts of terrorism and violent extremism in all its forms and manifestations, including cross-border terrorism. In a joint statement issued by the US, India, Australia and Japan, the leaders renewed their commitment to counter-terrorism cooperation. The leaders condemned in the strongest terms the Pahalgam terrorist attack, calling for the perpetrators, organizers and financiers of this reprehensible act to be brought to justice without any delay. The leaders also urged all UN member states, in accordance with their obligations under international law and relevant UN SCRs, to cooperate actively with all relevant authorities in this regard. The ministers also announced key initiatives to strengthen maritime and transnational security, economic prosperity and security, critical and emerging technology, and support humanitarian assistance and emergency response across the region. They also announced the launch of the Quad Critical Minerals Initiative, an ambitious expansion of our partnership to strengthen economic security and collective resilience by collaborating on securing and diversifying critical mineral supply chains. This new flagship initiative, alongside the high-impact programs and outcomes the Quad is realizing, will enable the four countries to bring economic opportunity and prosperity to people and the region. And DD India's Saurabh Shukla elaborates the details of Quad foreign ministers meeting and its outcome.
I would say that Dr. Jaishankar's visit came at a very critical time when not only Quad was looking for a more focused agenda, also from India's standpoint, India's concerns on Pakistan-sponsored terrorism was something which the global leaders had to, be appraised about, especially the Quad foreign ministers. And I must say that behind the scenes, a lot of deft diplomacy happened ahead of this meeting. Also during this meeting, External Affairs Minister Jaishankar made it very clear that the perpetrators of terrorism have to be named, and even their finances and backers have to be named. And that's the reason why what you saw, the very strong joint statement that came out clearly mentioned that Quad not only condemned Pahalgam attacks, but it also went beyond it. So what India's concerns were I would say, were articulated very well, and the end result was very good.
Well, on the sidelines of the Quad Foreign Ministers meeting, Jaishankar met Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth in Washington, D.C. Two leaders had a productive conversation on advancing the India-US defense partnership, building on growing convergences of interest, capabilities and responsibilities.
We believe that our defense partnership is today truly one of the most consequential pillars of the relationship. It's not built merely on shared interests, but we believe really deepening convergence and of capabilities, of responsibilities, and what we do in the Indo-Pacific, we believe is absolutely crucial to its strategic stability. The world is a complicated place, I think perhaps growing in its complexity, and certainly our partnership and the contribution that we can make together, I think would be of immense importance, not just for us, I think, but for the larger region, I would even argue for the world.
Well, then came a meeting with U.S. counterpart, Secretary of State Marco Rubio. They discussed their bilateral partnership, including trade, security, critical technologies, connectivity, energy and mobility, shared perspectives on regional and global developments. The External Affairs Minister also held a useful conversation with the U.S. Secretary of Energy, Chris Wright. Jaishankar spoke about the energy transformation underway in India and opportunities for deeper India-U.S. energy partnership. Jaishankar also got the opportunity to meet his Australian counterpart, Penny Wong. The discussions were reflective of the trust and comfort of a comprehensive strategic partnership. EAM said that he looks forward to welcoming Wong in India.
We marked the 5th anniversary of our comprehensive strategic partnership. We are very pleased to have Richard Marles over on that occasion. Our Prime Ministers met recently in Canada on the sidelines of the G7 outreach. That was a very good meeting. When I look at relationships which are both important and comfortable for us today, we've taken it to a level where if there's any issue, we immediately reach out to each other. We are also, I think, today trusting enough of each other that we discuss a lot of other issues, the state of the world. In many ways, that tells you really what the quality of our ties is about.
Well, earlier, Jaishankar also met his Japanese counterpart, Takeshi Iwaya, and held comprehensive discussions on infrastructure, investment and mobility. The two leaders also exchanged views on deepening our Quad engagement for a free and open Indo-Pacific. Jaishankar said the special strategic and global partnership between India and Japan continues to deepen and diversify. While Jaishankar was in Washington, India's Defence Minister Rajnath Singh too held a telephonic conversation with his U.S. counterpart Pete Hegseth on Tuesday. Both the leaders held excellent discussion to review the ongoing and new initiatives to further deepen India-U.S. defence partnership and strengthen cooperation in capacity building. Well, issues covered were long-term cooperation in the defense sector, including training and military exchanges, and expanding the industry collaboration. Rajnath Singh conveyed his deep appreciation for the unwavering support extended by the U.S. to India in its fight against terrorism. Hegseth invited Rajnath Singh to the U.S. for an in-person meeting to take the bilateral defense partnership forward, on which the Indian leader said that he is looking forward to a meeting at an early date. This was the third telephonic conversation since January this year, when Mr. Pete Hegseth was confirmed as U.S. Secretary of Defense. And French President Emmanuel Macron urged his Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin to agree to a ceasefire in Ukraine in the first ever talks held between the two leaders since 2022. Though the Russian leader blamed the West for the conflict during the 2-hour-long telephonic conversation and said that any peace deal should be comprehensive and long-term, provide for the elimination of the root causes of the Ukrainian crisis and be based on new territorial realities. Putin also added that Western states had for many years ignored Russia's security interest and created an anti-Russian bridgehead in Ukraine. Other than Ukraine, the talks also focused on Iran, discussing Tehran's nuclear program, with Macron suggesting Moscow and Paris should work together to de-escalate tensions. According to the statements, both the presidents agreed that the conflict over Iran's nuclear activities and other West Asian conflicts should be solved exclusively by diplomatic means and that the two leaders would continue contacts on this. Though the Kremlin said that Putin has emphasized on the lawful right of Tehran in developing a civilian nuclear program. And Pentagon has halted some shipments of air defense missiles and other precision munitions to Ukraine over concerns that U.S. stockpiles are too low. The Pentagon slowing off some weapon shipments promised to keep under former President Joe Biden's administration occurred in recent days. Among the weapons that are being delayed are air defense interceptors that would help knock down inbound Russian drones and missiles and other munitions. All weapons aid was briefly paused in February with a second longer pause in March. The Trump administration resumed sending the last of the aid approved under Biden. Russia, which already controls about a fifth of Ukraine, continues to advance gradually, gaining ground in recent weeks in Ukraine's southeastern region of Donetsk and Dnipropetrovsk and ramping up air attacks nationwide. And time now for a short break. We'll be back in a while.
Jharkhand will mesmerize you with majestic nature, rich heritage and colorful culture.
Hello. Johar. It fits perfectly.
Thank you.
Full workout ho gaya.
Ready?
Postcards from Jharkhand on National Geographic.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Lipakshi Khurana. And moving on, U.S. President Donald Trump urged Hamas on Tuesday to accept a 60-day ceasefire in Gaza, saying that Israel had agreed on terms for a 60-day ceasefire deal in Gaza. Trump, in a post on social media, said his representatives had met with Israeli officials about the raging conflict ahead of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's visit to Washington, scheduled for next week, in which Trump said he would be very firm. Trump said on Tuesday that he believed Netanyahu wanted to end hostilities in Gaza. Trump also said representatives of Qatar and Egypt, mediators in the conflict, would deliver this final proposal. In March, a previous ceasefire deal collapsed when Israel launched fresh strikes on Gaza. The previous ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas, which started on 19th of January, was set up to have 3 stages but did not make it past the first stage. And Israel's military said it intercepted a missile launched from Yemen on Tuesday, while the Houthis claim to have also attacked Israel with drones. Following the interception, Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz threatened the Houthi rebels and said Yemen will be treated like Tehran. Katz, in a social media post, said that after striking the head of the snake in Tehran, we'll also strike the Houthis in Yemen. In a strong warning, Katz said anyone who raises a hand against Israel will have their hand cut off. Yemen's Houthi rebels have launched repeated missile and drone attacks against Israel since Hamas's October 2023 attack on Israel sparked the Gaza conflict. And following the attack, U.S. Ambassador to Israel Mike Huckabee also threatened to launch B-2 Spirit stealth bombers in Yemen. Taking to social media X, Huckabee said, and I quote, "We thought we were done with missiles coming to Israel, but Houthis just lit one up over us in Israel. Fortunately, Israel's incredible interception system means We could go to the shelter and wait until all clear. Maybe those B-2 bombers need to visit Yemen. The envoy's reference to B-2 bombers came days after the U.S. used its most advanced strategic weapons to strike Iran's 3 nuclear sites last month as it joined Israel's military campaign against its major rival. The B-2 is capable of entering sophisticated air defenses and delivering precision strikes against hardened targets. And the U.S. Senate on Tuesday narrowly passed the Trump administration's tax and spending bill dubbed One Big Beautiful Bill. The Republican-controlled Senate passed the bill by 51-50 after a marathon voting process that started Monday morning. U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance broke a 50-50 tie by casting a vote. Senators spent the past few days reading out and debating the 940-page deal, which was unveiled last Friday. The legislation includes more spending on broader security, defense and energy production, with cuts to health care and electric vehicle subsidies. The bill extends Trump's 2017 Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, which is set to expire at the end of 2025. The mega bill would add about $3.3 trillion of deficit in the next decade, higher than the $2.8 trillion of deficit in the version passed by the House of Representatives on May 22nd. However, the House of Representatives need to approve the revision to all version of the bill, which was passed on May 22nd. Earlier, Trump urged lawmakers to pass the bill before July 4th. According to U.S. media reports, the House of Representatives will vote on the bill on Wednesday. And President Donald Trump said on Tuesday he was not thinking of extending the July 9th deadline for countries to negotiate trade deals with the U.S. and continue to express doubt that an agreement could be reached with Japan. Trump suggested he could impose a tariff 30% or 35% on imports from Japan, well above the 24% tariff hike he announced on April 2nd and then later paused. The Trump administration plans to prioritize securing trade deals in countries including India ahead of Japan in the days leading up to July 9th deadline when higher U.S. tariffs take effect.
I think we're going to have a deal with India, possibly, and that's going to be a different kind of a deal. It's going to be a deal where we're able to go in and compete. Right now, India doesn't accept anybody in. I think India is going to do that, and if they do that, we're going to have a deal for much less tariffs. Thank you for telling me, by the way.
While U.S. President Donald Trump attended the opening of a remote migrant detention center in the Florida Everglades dubbed Alligator Alcatraz. During the tour with Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem and Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, Trump highlighted the facility's remote location. The detention center, built on a remote airstrip in the Everglades, can hold up to 5,000 migrants in India and trailers. The complex in southern Florida at the Dada Collier Training and Transition Airport is estimated to cost $450 million annually. Trump, visiting the site on Tuesday, said the facility will hold some of the most menacing migrants, some of the most vicious people on the planet. After touring the facility, President Trump praised Governor DeSantis and said the only way out of the detention center is deportation. And amid chants of Har Har Mahadev, Jammu and Kashmir Lieutenant Governor Manoj Sinha flagged off the first batch of Amarnath Yatra pilgrims from the base camp in Jammu's Bhagwati Nagar early this morning. A total of 5,892 pilgrims left for the valley, of which 2,489 shall perform Yatra via the Bilateral route, whereas 3,403 will follow the longer Anantnag route to reach the holy cave shrine. The 38-day Yatra to the 3,880-meter high Amarnath Shrine shall formally begin on Thursday via both the routes. The traditional 48-kilometer Nanwe Pahalgam track in Anantnag and the shorter but steeper 14 kilometers Baltal route in Ganderbal. The pilgrimage will conclude on Shravan Purnima, which falls on August 9 this year. The pilgrims are being escorted by a robust security convoy along the Yatra route. More than 3.31 lakh devotees have already registered for this year's Yatra so far, whereas on-the-spot registration has also begun at Jammu with nearly 4,000 tokens distributed over the last 2 days. Well, the first batch of Kailash Mansarovar Yatra 2025 pilgrims successfully returned to Gangtok after completing their sacred pilgrimage to Mount Kailash and Mansarovar. The pilgrims expressed a deep gratitude and happiness, feeling blessed for completing the yatra under the care of the liaison officer and the organizing teams. They thanked the government for providing them with a comfortable stay, warm hospitality and nutritious sattvic meals. All yatris were presented with the Yatra completion certification by the ACS Tourism Department. The first batch yatris will be returning to their respective states today, carrying cherished memories of their sacred pilgrimage and the warmth of Sikkim's hospitality. Well, Rath Yatra, or the Chariot Festival, is an annual Hindu event mainly held in India's eastern city of Odisha, celebrating Lord Jagannath's journey to Gundicha temple, where his siblings Balabhadra and Subhadra stay. It's one of India's most sacred and widely attended festivals. Celebrating the Indian cultural heritage in Korea, ISKCON Sri Radhakrishna Temple in Pocheon, South Korea organized a vibrant Lord Jagannath Rath Yatra on Tuesday. The festival, marking the annual chariot procession, brought together members of the Indian diaspora, the local Korean community and devotees from half countries in a spirit of faith and cultural harmony. Indian ambassador to South Korea, Kumar Amit, also participated in the Rath Yatra with Mayor of Pocheon, Baek Young Hyun. Similarly, a joyous celebration for the Rath Yatra also took place at the Bab Sindhu Mandir, Abu Dhabi, uniting hearts and devotion and festivity. Devotees and members of the community joined together in pulling the chariots, chanting hymns, filling the air with spiritual fervor. And some weather updates now. Widespread spell of heavy to very heavy rainfall is set to sweep across large swathes of India over the next 6 to 7 days, with the weathermen flagging heightened flood risk in central and northern India. The Himalayan province of Himachal Pradesh is witnessing intense monsoon activity for past 3 days, leading to multiple incidents of cloudburst, flash floods and landslides, resulting in huge loss of life and property. However, today intensity of monsoon is subdued and there are no reports of fresh rains from any part of the state. But for the worst hit district of Mandi, news is less comforting, as even today the Met Department has issued a warning of orange alert indicating heavy rainfall. Well, a dangerous and unrelenting heat wave is sweeping across Europe, ignoring and triggering health warnings, schools closures and the shutdown of major landmarks. France, the UK, Germany and several other countries are facing extreme conditions more typical of late summer, which has put everyone at risk. Diptanshu Kashyap brings us the latest report.
Europe is battling an intense early summer heat wave, with temperatures soaring to dangerous levels across the continent. France has issued its first red alert in 5 years, forcing nearly 2,000 schools to close early. Public events were restricted due to extreme heat. Cooling centers were opened in Paris and Bordeaux as temperatures reached 40 degrees Celsius. Iconic sites like the Eiffel Tower and Brussels' Atomium were closed. The World Meteorological Organization has warned that everybody is at risk in this early season heat wave.
What is exceptional, and I would stress exceptional but not unprecedented, is the time of year. You know, we are 1st of July and we are seeing episodes of extreme heat which normally we would see later on. Why is it happening? Various reasons. One of them is that sea surface temperatures in the Mediterranean are exceptionally high for this time of year. It's the equivalent of a land heat wave.
In the United Kingdom, rising heat has dried up reservoirs and pushed people to rivers and lakes, with temperatures surpassing 30 degrees Celsius. Elsewhere in Europe, countries are struggling to adapt. Health advisories have also been issued in Spain, Portugal, Italy and the Netherlands. In Turin, Italy, children cooled off in public fountains as temperatures climbed to 40 degrees. While in Germany, construction workers and street vendors faced similar challenges in 37 degrees heat. The United Nations has described these conditions as exceptional, more typical of late summer. Scientists continue to warn that climate change, driven by fossil fuel emissions, is intensifying these patterns. With conditions expected to persist through the week, calls for urgent climate action are growing louder across the continent. Gitanshu Kashyap's report for DD India.
And still to come on DD India News Hour. India heads into the second test against England at Edgbaston, eyes maiden test win. We'll get you all the highlights and hits and misses from the Wimbledon court.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the economic brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Lipakshi Khuranan. Moving on, Australian airline Qantas is investigating a major cyber attack that exposed personal data of up to 6 million customers. Qantas, in a statement on Wednesday, said the hacker targeted a call center and gained access to a third-party customer service platform containing 6 million names, email addresses, phone numbers, birthdays, and frequent flyer numbers. The airline did not specify the location of the call center or customers whose information was compromised. It said it learned of the breach after detecting unusual activity on the platform and acted immediately to contain it. Last week, the U.S. Federal Bureau of Investigation said cybercrime group Scattered Spider was targeting airlines and the Hawaiian Airlines, and Canada's WestJet had already reported breaches. Qantas did not name any group. Well, you're watching DD India News. Our time now for some sports news. India heads into the second test against England at Edgbaston with history stacked against them. 8 matches, 7 defeats and no wins. But under the young leadership of Shubman Gill, the team is looking to bounce back from a heartbreaking loss at Leeds. DD India's correspondent Narayan Singh brings the preview of the second test match.
Sometimes in cricket, as in life, even a sky full of centuries can't chase away the storm of missed chances. Team India, under the young leadership of Shubman Gill, now stares at a mountain they have never climbed before. A test win at Edgbaston, a venue that has troubled Indian cricket for decades. India has played 8 test matches here at Edgbaston. 7 times they have walked away and defeated. Just once, way back in 1986, they managed a draw against the England side. A win, still a dream, but this team has turned dreams into reality before on multiple occasions. In the first test at Leeds, India made history, not the kind they wanted. 5 centuries, yes, 5, and still they lost. Never before a team, after scoring that many hundreds, ended up on the losing side. Dropped catches, especially 4 by Yashasvi Jaiswal, allowed this England team to claw their way back in the match. Also, there is a growing support for wrist spinner Kuldeep Yadav to come into the playing 11. But India's assistant coach Ryan Dashkote dropped strong hints that Nitish Kumar Reddy and Washington Sundar have good chance of making the cut in the team. But he added that technically Bumrah is available and the management haven't made a decision whether he is going to play or not in the second test match. It will be decided in the last minute. Talking about the England side, they are going in with an unchanged squad. That means no Jofra Archer. He remains out due to some family emergency despite returning to squad after 4 long years. Expect the Edgbaston surface to live up to its reputation. pace and bounce early, especially on day 1 and 2. If the sky remains overcast, the Duke's ball will dance. Seamers will rule the morning spells and top order batters will need nerves of steel to handle those sessions. Yes, the task is uphill. Yes, the venue has been unkind, but remember, fighting back is in India's DNA. We have seen it in Melbourne, at Lord's, and countless other times when the world counted India out.
Well, updates from Wimbledon 2025 now. World number 1 Yannick Sinner and on 11th seed Australian Alex de Minaur registered easy wins to advance into the next round. World number 1 Yannick Sinner eased effortlessly into the second round, defeating fellow Italian Luca Nardi in a 6-4, 6-3, 6-0 victory on Tuesday. Returning to the Grand Slam stage for the first time since his epic French Open final defeat by Carlos Alcaraz, the 3 times major winners had a much less testing workout against world number 95 Nardi. Number 11 seed Australian Alex de Minaur edged past Spaniard Roberto Carbal's winner to move into the second round of Wimbledon on Tuesday. The third seed, Alexander Zverev, was the highest seeded player to fall in the opening match. The German lost on Tuesday in 5 states to heavy-hitting Frenchman Arthur Lindechke, who did not drop serve for the entirety of the match to secure his biggest career win by the PIF ATP ranking. And defending champion Barbora Krejcikova advanced into the second round, but Jessica Pegula crashed out on Tuesday. Defending Wimbledon champion Barbora Krejcikova avoided a first-round upset with a hard-fought victory over promising youngster Alexandra Ilala. The Czech had been an injury out coming into the tournament, but showed her experience to begin her title defense with a 3-6, 6-2, 6-1 in the centre court. Meanwhile, American Jessica Pegula suffered a shock Wimbledon exit. The third seed was beaten by world number 116 Italy's Elisabetta Cosciaretto in straight sets. Well, Novak Djokovic started his Wimbledon 2025 campaign with a win over Alexandre Muller on Wednesday. The Serbian icon registered a 6-1, 6-7, 6-2, 6-2 triumph over the Frenchman Muller at the centre court to move into the second round of the grass court event. Djokovic, who is in search of his record 25th Grand Slam title, also stands in line to level Swiss great Roger Federer's record of 8 titles at the Wimbledon with a triumph in this year. British number 1 Jack Draper began his Wimbledon bid with a commanding performance before his opponent Sebastian Baez retired through injury. Draper was leading 6-2, 6-2, 2-1 when Baez retired after 1 hour and 14 minutes. And Spanish club Real Madrid secured a hard-fought 1-0 victory over Juventus in a tightly contested Club World Cup round of 16 match at Hard Rock Stadium in Miami Gardens. The decisive moment came in the 54th minute when academy product Gonzalo Garcia rose highest to head home a pinpoint cross from Trent Alexander-Arnold, sealing a well-deserved win for the Spanish champions. This win sends Real Madrid into the last 8, where they will face Borussia Dortmund, who progressed after outclassing Monterrey 2-1 in Atalanta. All right, that's all for this edition of DD India News Hour, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Lipakshi Khurana from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.